Okay, phase 2, lessons. First lesson. In this phase, you will have contacted the instructor who made it all the way through the vetting recommended in phase 1 and set up your first lesson together. During the first few in-person lessons, try to sit close by so that you can at least observe the body language and interactions between your child and the instructor. Important note to parents, though you may be close by during the actual lesson, let your child speak as much as possible with the instructor and try not to become a part of the lesson in any way. Also, fight the urge to give your child verbal encouragement or instruction while the instructor is working. Remember, you are paying them to pass their expertise onto your ball player during this designated lesson period. You will have plenty of time before and after lessons to encourage your child or to pass on your own knowledge to them. What to expect from a private instructor: preparedness and enthusiasm. The local instructor should be punctual and prepared with all the gear necessary to do your child's lesson, whether it be a bucket of balls, an L-net, a tee, or a catcher's glove. For live streamed or other types of online lessons, this same general sense of preparedness should apply. And the instructor should exude enthusiasm throughout the lesson. They should be excited to meet you and your ball player, and most excited at the potential of becoming a part of your child's growth in the sport. Homework. Expect homework from an instructor at or near the end of most private lessons. An instructor should at least verbalize what homework, i.e. drills or technique repetitions, that your son or daughter should be doing on their own between lessons. Putting in weekly personal work on a drill, series of drills, or just reinforcing things like a new swing or pitching movement pattern is essential to accelerating your child's development in baseball or softball. Regardless of whether your child's goals are to play at the highest level or to do just a bit better in Little League, doing personalized, meaning chosen by an instructor for your child's specific needs, skill homework, along with regular private instruction is the fastest and most effective way to achieve it. It should be assumed that all professional instructors know this fact about homework, and it should also be assumed that a great instructor puts the student first and wants that student to find success as quickly as possible. Therefore, and here's another fact insiders know and one that you need to know, if an instructor never gives your athlete homework to do between lessons, then it says one or possibly all of these 3 things about the instructor. 1, they are unqualified to be teaching. 2, they are lazy, apathetic. As asserted earlier in this guide, laziness and not caring are often linked in the worst instructors. And 3, they are purposely slowing your child's progress in an attempt to extend the financial exchange of services for a longer period of time. This last point may shock you as parents, but a truly minuscule percentage of instructors will drip out knowledge slowly and intentionally across many lessons as a means of securing their financial gain for that period of time. The convoluted reason these instructors do this is that they feel that once an athlete is really finding a lot of success out there on the field, it is very common for parents to pause or flat out stop purchasing private lessons with the assumption that their child has learned what they needed to in order to improve. Besides being unethical, such coaches' logic is flawed because early in-game successes after a few lessons with a new instructor often lead to more committed and persistent clients. The good news is that in my experience, this type of instructor is incredibly rare, but incredibly rare is not the same as non-existent. An unfortunate and related phenomenon to this one is seen in the instructor who doesn't really have a lot of skills, progressions, drills, tactics, or mental game to teach. Because the depth of their own hitting or pitching knowledge is so shallow, they tend to leak their puddle of knowledge out slowly as to delay your athlete from outgrowing them. Any commercial training facility worth its salt should have gotten rid of these types of instructors immediately or stop them from working there in the first place with stringent vetting. Still, these type of instructors seem to always find a home elsewhere at parks, backyards, and unfortunately less strict facilities. Seems Up's star rating and transparent review system on each coach's profile is a similar failsafe against such instructors. A note on private lesson homework. Giving your ball player homework at or near the end of a lesson can mean many different things. Some instructors still write up very specific prescriptions of what to do between lessons, like a doctor on post-it notes or via detailed digital messages. Others will be much less formal and simply verbalize exactly what they think would be beneficial for your son or daughter to work on before seeing them again. Sometimes, once an instructor has been with your athlete a while, not in the first few lessons of course, and if your ball player is really crushing the ball or looking crisp with their pitching bullpens, this homework debriefing chat could be as simple as the instructor asking exactly what your child has been doing and advising them to keep it up. If you or your child has a preference for one of the types of homework I've listed, then this is another thing to consider in selecting an instructor. I must say though, that all the great instructors I've known employ all three of these types of homework for different clients and often for the same client at different times in their progress, depending on such things as who the ball player is and how they learn best, where the ball player is in their skill development, how a given player looked physically or mentally in that particular lesson, and how long of a relationship they've had with that player. But no matter what, some manner of concern for what your child does to improve in their game between lessons should be shown by an instructor worth spending your time, energy, and money on. Post-lesson. Okay. So let's say now you're in the car ride home after the first in-person lesson. Here's what you'll eventually need to find out from your child. How much did they enjoy the lesson generally? How well they understood the concepts that the instructor was trying to convey? Did they feel challenged physically or mentally? Again, this is a great thing. How comfortable did they feel with the instructor, especially if they feel like they can ask questions? And how well they can verbalize back to you what they learned on that day. Let's break down some of these questions just a bit more. But first, it should be said that finding the answer to these questions shouldn't be an interrogation on your part, and that you can spread these questions over hours or even days if you like. It's better to ask casually and with the appearance of impartiality than to get an answer that your child thinks you want to hear. Your child may sense the investment of time or money that you're making in their lessons, and these concerns may keep them from giving you the full truth on how they really feel. These types of unintentionally pressured answers can lead to both you and your child wasting time on an instructor who isn't a good fit. Mitigate this tendency by assuring your child that you are both working together to find the right instructor, and that you will continue searching until they are with the instructor who will help guide them to success. Of course, besides general enjoyment, your ball players should feel challenged each and every lesson. Master instructors walk a fine line with their lessons between being mentally and physically challenging, which fosters true growth, and being so demanding or intimidating that lessons shut down emotionally and can't learn, which is the opposite of growth. I assure you, it is possible to have an enjoyable experience while being tested and challenged greatly, and that is the exact lesson experience that you want for your child. The scope of this already long course means that I cannot go into massive amounts of detail that I like on this important topic, but for now, just trust me that being challenged by an instructor who is doing so with a well-conveyed purpose that your child actually grasps is the fastest and most effective way for your ball player to get better. Finally, your child should be able to understand and retain what the instructor is teaching. Though all lessons are a process, and it absolutely takes time for physical results to manifest on the diamond, your child should be able to at least comprehend and explain back to you what the instructor is asking or teaching after the first couple of lessons. If, after these lessons, your child of sufficient age can't tell you something like, "Today Coach Tommy explained that I'm casting my hands away from my body, and that's why I'm struggling on inside pitches and keep pulling balls I shouldn't be pulling," then Coach Tommy is not making the necessary effort to ensure that your son understands the reason behind the adjustments he's calling for. It is essential that your son or daughter understands both the reasons they are struggling at the plate or mound or on defense and how to make the adjustments required to fix it. Any drills must be shown and explained with an explicit intent to your ball player in order to keep them from turning into thoughtless repetitions that will never lead to a breakthrough. If your child doesn't understand what they need to work on and why, then how will they ever be able to practice and get better on their own? And even more pressing, how will they be able to make adjustments between at-bats or pitches in the actual games when Coach Tommy isn't there if they don't understand what mechanical or tactical errors lead to what outcomes? Answer: they won't. Results. All of these points lead to the last consideration of Phase 2, which is the actual game time results that you observe in your ball player after they receive private baseball or softball lessons. Warning: this box is deceptively easy to check. You just need to see right away if your ball player's batting average or slugging percentage goes up for hitters, or their ERA goes down and velocity goes up for pitchers, right? Well, yes and no. Let me explain. If the instructor has checked all of the previous boxes, then it is best to be a bit patient when arriving at this one. If the instructor is vetted and your son or daughter is enjoying being challenged and understands each challenge's reasoning, then you are very much on the right track. It is said that hitting a round ball with a round bat is the hardest thing to do in all of sports. So make sure to give the teachings your instructor is trying to pass on the time they need to be internalized by your child's motor system. I would also recommend giving the otherwise great instructor a series of lessons before expecting noticeable results, because depending on your child and their needs, it may take multiple interactions for the instructor to find a coaching style or cues that click with your ball player. I am extremely hesitant to offer an exact number of lessons to purchase before seeing results on game day, because there are so many variables outside of both the instructor's and your child's control before and during real games that it honestly feels imprudent and just plain wrong to give such a number. In younger or generally just just less advanced ball players, the results will often be much more immediate, usually 1 to 6 lessons or so. There are 3 main reasons for these quicker results. Firstly, because more complex hitting or pitching approach methodologies or sports psychology topics will not yet be addressed. 2, because such ball players have less ingrained habits for the instructor to iron out. And 3, because the sudden introduction of things like tee work, throwing a proper bullpen, or getting live batting practice with an instructor's professional guidance each week will often be enough to quickly accelerate both their skills and confidence. In older, more experienced players, the instructor may have more complex subjects to introduce, more bad habits to reprogram, and the player may already get a decent amount of tee, batting practice, and/or bullpens on their own or with their school or travel organization. So, this some extra practice equaling faster results phenomenon is understandably less common in these cases. That said, no matter how well the instructor checks the previous phases boxes, if your ball player is not feeling even just a bit more confident in their skills and approach at the plate or on the mound or in the field after around 6 to 12 lessons, then it may be high time to revisit those boxes with a new instructor.